Before we start, just a big thank you to everybody who watched the KayPLodgee's debunk, and the subscribers and the likes and all of that. Here I am. What I'd like to do this time around is I'd like to debunk this meme. What? I did it on Twatta for Bret because he insisted. It was part of my KayPLodgee's debunk. You'll see it there. And he just ignored me like a stop street. And then he posted Kay, and that just got me to deal with Kay. But I think we should debunk this meme of his because every single red point on there is a lie. And also every single is a lie. It's being used in a false way to try and underwrite futurism. But we have to work through all of them. There are 85 slides, so there's a lot to do, so best we get going. Okay, the first thing we have to do is we have to look at the reasons why they say we think it's the little season, because even those are not right, it's not accurate. So the first thing he says is this generation versus. Okay, we know from KayPLodgee's debunk, the one that I did, if you go back to the video before that, you'll see it, that she tried to say generation is genos, in other words, the blues, instead of what it actually says in the Greek, which is genia, which is just a group of people living together. And the reason she tried to do that is because then she doesn't have to deal with the word this. It's very difficult to turn the word this into that, you see, if it doesn't point to a so-called ethnic race. Okay, so this generation, this group of people now living together is what those verses mean. Yes, if you define it like that, that's exactly what we believe. If you pretend the generation means the blues, like Kay tried to do, no, we don't buy that at all, because that's throwing it into the future. That's why it's being done. Okay. Beautiful buildings. Yes, we're aware of the beautiful buildings, but there are also buildings that are way less beautiful. If you go to a channel called Hidden Truth on YouTube, he's got about, at this point, 76 or 77 videos. He doesn't get everything right. It's a difficult topic, so whatever. It's okay. But he's Christian. He comes from a good place. He thinks the nice-looking, Roman-looking buildings are built by the saints. I'm not sure I agree with that. I'm more with Paul from Understanding Conspiracy that says some of the Roman buildings survived. Okay? It's the Gothic buildings that were probably built during the millennial reign. I'm more inclined to go with Paul on this. But the point is not that. It doesn't only take the beautiful big buildings. It takes average buildings. They've literally refacaded the entire America, people. They've taken shop fronts and changed it. They've hidden the melted stuff, the fervent heat stuff, the mud flood, which is also a misnomer. Buildings sank because of soil liquefaction. They're hiding it. Go to a town and go and look for it, you'll see it. Very good channel for that, to just sit and immerse yourself. Start at the first video he did whenever and work your way to the last ones. They're short, they range between 14 and 20 minutes. Load them, watch them, and you'll see it. Okay, so it's not only about beautiful buildings. Tartaria, we know Tartary was a part of the world. We don't do Tartaria. We are not Tartarian people. Okay? The whole Tartaria narrative is also done to point us away from the millennial reign being over. Because they want to get to advanced previous civilization, maybe aliens or whatever. We're not that. Okay? So even this is a fib. It's not a mud flood. It was soil liquefaction. Things sank. Melted buildings. Melted mountains. Compadre. It's everywhere. Look around you. When your peepers open, you will see it. You need to snap out of the programming, otherwise you will not see it. But to now pretend we Tartaria fanatics and all that, no. Technology, sure. I mean, we have lots of proof of that there was technology that was in use that we're no longer using. We know that. We're not that interested in that. Yes, okay. We don't know where that fits in. Probably in the millennial reign, to be honest. I also believe that they were way more advanced in the Bible than they've led us to believe. I do not believe the sandals and bed sheets in the desert hogwash. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Humans don't sit around for 6,000 years doing nothing, okay? Cain already built a wall, a city. They built the Tower of Babel way back when. It was high, had bricks and cement. And you want to tell me they were like, wandering around the desert in flip-flops? Come on, that's movie stuff. That's Cecil B. DeMille baloney. Okay, little season theories from Revelation 20. I don't know what that means. I'm just going to skip over that because it's his usual hogwash. Like Hollywood doctrine in the movie. I don't watch any movies. Don't know what he's talking about. Don't care. History versus what does that mean? Timeline change. That's a fact, buddy. Go and watch Gunnar Heinsohn's video and see how they turned one cataclysmic event into 3 in the history books. How does he know? Because the stratigraphy proves it. So Heinsohn is not a Christian, so he's confused about a few things. That's okay. He doesn't even know what he's revealing. Okay? The first thing he does is he believes the lie that the first cataclysmic event took place in 300 AD because he takes their secular date as the truth, which is basically a rookie mistake. This happened in 70 AD, but anyway, whatever. So in 300 AD, there was a cataclysmic event. In 600 AD, there was another one, according to them in the history books. In 1000, there was another one. Okay? The only problem with that is that if the one group of people in the, let's say, the 300 event had houses, the ones in 600 and 1000 didn't. Or if the ones in 600 could eat, then the ones in 300 and 1000 couldn't. Besides that, this strata just below their feet, okay, in 300, 600, and 1000 is Roman. Hello, ding, ding. Ding, ding, ding. Anybody home? So they've definitely added at least 700 years into the timeline. Gunnar Heinsohn proves without knowing what he's even proving. Okay. So, some standing here verses. Okay, well, what about that? Did you know movies like Oldwood are connected to the... what is that? Are connected to the antichrist when they claim he's from an old advanced technology lands? What? Oh, Bret, man, come on. Do better. But you see, it's nice and small there, and it looks like, did you know? Biblical doctrine from the Hollywood. You see, this is how they get you. So now that we've debunked the reasons why he thinks we believe in the little season, we can move on. Just one last thing. We just read the Bible. We believe what the Bible says, and then we open our eyes and we can see melted stuff and sunken stuff around us. But it only happens if you're prepared to open your peepers and you don't get persuaded to look the other way by memes such as this one and by Kate Hodgepodge, whatever her name is. Okay, sorry. So we've done the first 3 slides already, basically, but we can now start at slide 4. Pop them on and work through them as quickly as we can. So the criticism here is that the reference to little season in 23, Revelation 23, is the same as the little season reference in 6:11, Revelation 6:11. Untrue. 6:11 refers to the martyrs awaiting the fulfillment of God's plan. So it is during the trib, before the second advent and the millennial reign of Christ. Okay. 23 is about the little season post-millennial reign. Why conflate it? Why pretend the one is the other so that you can get to saying it's only 3.5 years long? What is that about? What is that about? That's a fib. Seriously, how does one throw this verse, Revelation 1:7, 2,000 years into the future? Behold, he cometh with the clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him. Hello? Little Seasonists believe Jesus when he said this generation. He didn't mean that generation 2,000 years from now. And we believe some of you standing here will not die. We believe that. We don't try and use the word generation and turn it into genos when it's genial, you know. And we don't go to Jesus really say. We just believe what he said. Compare Daniel 12:4 with Revelation 22:10. Same prophecy, okay? Daniel 12:4 says, "O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end." Revelation 22:10, the angel speaking to John says, "Do not seal up the words of this prophecy in this book, because the time is near." I mean, I ask people about this and they just don't answer, because they can't. Okay, so this is just a quick slide to show that what Bret said we say, why we believe the little season, is inaccurate. Okay, so little season thinkers, we reject Tartaria and previous advanced civilizations and mud floods. It's the wrong lingo. Okay, we believe in sunken buildings. Been through all this before. You get the difference, but it's important to use the right language, you know? So this, honestly, it's beyond me. Maybe I'm just thick. It's possible. Also, it might help if I can actually spell season properly instead of writing it like I wrote it here. You know, little seance. You're going to call me a seance person. Anyway, I'm leaving it in. Okay, so here's more spin. We've been through this. It's very important for our little seasonists to understand, in my humble opinion, that if we are in the little season, which we think we are, then all eschatology will also be false because it comes from the little season time. With me? You understand where that sits? So don't call yourself, well, I believe in the little season, but I think I'm post-millennial. I mean, can you hear that? That's not good thinking, you know? Or I am, whatever, a partial preterist. No. Like none of those systems apply because they come from a false system, from a little seasoned background. See what I mean? Anyway, moving on. Now, this criticism, I mean, just really bowls me over. I'll show you why. I'll try to. Josephus only saw angel chariots in sky in AD 70. Where was Jesus in that record? Okay, so the first thing I want to say here is, so Josephus saw it, and Tacitus also wrote about it and recorded it. But that's not enough for you, that there are armies, chariots, and stuff in the sky, and a sword hanging over the sky, something that looked like a sword that hung over the sky for months. It's recorded. That's not enough. Because that stuff's not in the Bible, right? Or what? Or is it? Or where does this now come from? The fact that they confirm that these things were seen. Does it come from the Bhagavad Gita, maybe? Or the Boron? Okay, so, I mean, really. Secondly, if we are in the little season, I assure you that nobody will be allowed to write or say or let out that they saw Jesus in the clouds. And if they did, which they may very well have, I bet you it's in the 55 miles of library space below the Squatican in Rome. Well, it's not even in Rome. In the Squatican state. You know? So, I mean, what is that? Also, let's just by your own logic. The following verses must not have happened because it's not recorded anywhere in history. Compadre, Matthew 27, 52 and 53, which says, it was at Jesus' resurrection, and the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose, and came out of the graves after his resurrection, and went into the holy city, and appeared unto many. Not one sausage wrote that down in a history book, Bret. But I dare you to tell me that it did not happen. I dare you. Waiting. By the way, Bible Scribe is very well researched. Who did what and who said what. And so you can watch this, you can read this PDF. I'll post it down below in the description. And also he's got a good YouTube channel. He's a partial preterist though. So funnily enough, he hasn't looked into the little season. It's a pity. I wish he would look into, because he'll see it if he looks, you know. Okay, now slide 16 and 17 I debunked in the KayPLodge video. So I'm not going to do it here again. So it's a host of heavens, not physical stars. Stars are light. They don't fall. Pick a lane. Decide whether you're a globie or a flat earther before you hit people with this hogwash. Okay. Okay, so now we're at the New Jerusalem, which is Revelation 21. Okay. Actually 20, verse 9. And that is described. We know what the size of that is going to be. In fact, it's cubed. It's up there. I'll do a thing on the cube. I did a thread on that, but I'll do another thing on the cube. Which is why I think they've programmed us with cubes being satanic, when it's actually the shape of God's New Jerusalem. Just saying, careful. When you see the cubed mothership arriving, don't freak out. Might just be God, you know, in the North Pole. Just saying. Anyway, so of course it's not here, Bret. Nobody says it's here, and the little seasonists don't say it's here. You're conflating the second advent with the New Jerusalem, not the same thing. There's a whole millennial reign in between and a little season. Just read Revelation 20. All right, now this one we've dealt with. We did that earlier in this video, so we can go on to 21. The mud flood, also dealt with in Hodgepodge's debunk. The so-called mud flood is also a phrase that they use to keep us away from the truth, because then they get people saying, God promised there would never be a flood. It wasn't a flood, it's soil liquefaction. So earthquakes, God's wrath, and things sank. I know a lot of people think this actually did happen in the 1800s. I don't buy it. But the whole narrative is off. Anyway, be that as it may, it wasn't a flood. It was soil liquefaction and things sank. And that which didn't sink burnt up and melted in fervent heat. Okay, so Nero the Antichrist never came to Jerusalem temple, 2 Thessalonians 2. So let's look at what 2 Thessalonians 2 says. Here it is. So nowhere here does it say anything about an Antichrist. It talks about a son of perdition. And it talks about sitting in the temple of God. Nothing about Jerusalem. All that stuff, the temple and the third temple, came from a futurist doctrine that started by the Jesuits. Ribera did that in the 1700s, and that was then furthered by John Nelson Darby, the father of futurism, in 1830, which said that there will be a political leader in the future sitting in the temple of Jerusalem declaring himself God. It's just futurist hogwash. It doesn't come from the Bible. It's interpretation. So to now say we must now show that, well, Nero wasn't the Antichrist because he wasn't in Jerusalem at all, is they think is a gotcha, and it's not a gotcha. It's a hogwasher. You know, people need to wake up. It's a lie. They don't go looking for Nero in the temple and go, oh, maybe he should have been in the temple. No, it's a lie. All right, so the next slide says there's 64 Roman emperors after 70 AD. Okay. You see, if you refuse to look at faked, engineered, spun, rewritten, characters inserted history, which you can do quite easily, you refuse to look at it, you will never see it. If you've watched Gunnar Heinzorn's video and you can see that they turned one cataclysmic event into 3 on the history books, and that the strata below the feet in all 3 of those supposed eras The strata is the same. It's Roman. You will never again say something like there are 64 Roman emperors after 70 AD. You will realize that that's probably also a lie. And you will realize that Rome probably never fell over a period of 400 years, but happened in sort of one day. It was built in a lot of days and fell in one. You know? And you will never again say something like, the 1st and 2nd century church writers never said the second coming happened. Obviously, they won't say that if we're in the little season. It's the same with Josephus and the coming in the clouds comments. Obviously, they're not going to record it. The whole point is to hide it. Can you not see? The whole point is to hide it. We live in a system that's hiding it. It's not eschatology where you have an opinion and it's okay to talk about it. In fact, the fact that memes like this exist, that one has to debunk them, shows that we're living in a system that's trying very hard to deny it and make people not look at it. You know, people are creatures of habit and they like to belong. They don't like to stick out and draw attention. So when you've got enough noise going, don't look, don't look, don't look, you're an idiot for looking, satanic for looking, people just go, oh, well, okay, I won't look. And that is bad. It's bad. And it's deliberate too. So here, this now says no more prophecy in the millennium in Zechariah 13:3. Okay? You know, I want to say so. We're not saying we're in the millennium. And this is, you know, the stuff that futurists do. They quote Revelation 6:12-17, and they turn the word dens into dumbs. And no earthquakes, nonsense, recorded. You can go and check that out on Bible Scribe. The world population 170 million thing is nonsense, because there's scholars who say everything but 170, from 350 down to 200, but nobody says 170. And then this antichrist mark of the beast devours the whole earth, Daniel 7:23. Not quite sure how we get there, because this refers to the fourth beast. So this is all hogwash. Okay, what they're trying to say here is that Revelation was written in 95, and therefore what we're saying can't be true. Now, this is nonsense, because the Bible itself is actually the best evidence. Many scholars, by the way, date the book to 65 AD. And if you look at Revelation 11:1, it says, and there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, rise and measure the temple of God, and the altar, and them that worship therein. Which means the temple must have existed for John to have measured it. See what I mean? So a lot of scholars date the book's authorship to 65 AD. So this is another fakie from them. This verse, Isaiah 2:4, no more war starting in the millennium. And he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. This is usual stuff from futurists, where they conflate the second advent to the final white throne judgment. Not the same thing. Okay, so this grid, St. Irenaeus records that they didn't know the name of the Antichrist in 180 AD. So it makes it sound as though, because he didn't know the name, there wasn't one in 70 AD. You know, it's ridiculous. Let's just have a look at this quickly, properly. So he's against heresies. I mean, they were widely circulated according to history in the early Christian world, but now the original Greek text was lost. But they found fragments in other versions, fragments of the Greek version, okay? Now, surviving manuscripts of against heresies were rediscovered and made accessible to modern scholars, guess when? The Renaissance. So the full Latin edition of his work appears in the early 16th century, and then significant attention given to it in the 18th and 19th centuries. And then critical editions started popping up around the 19th and 20th century. And then he's awarded the 37th Doctor of the Church title by Pope Francis. It's got red flags all over the place. Neither one can see that, or one sort of can't. Also, he was one of the earliest dudes to say the antichrist was in the future. I mean, they started earlier with this TikTosh. Slide 37, 38, 39 deal with the legitimate requirement that the fullness of the Gentiles needed to have been reached before the second advent. It's a legitimate requirement. But what they say is the gospel wasn't preached from one end of the dome to the other. Okay, I beg to differ, and I'll show you why we say that. So let's zoom in and read it. So Romans 10:18, but I say, have they not heard? Yes, verily their sound went into all the earth, and their words unto the ends of the world. Paul referencing Psalm 19:4 here. So Colossians 1:6, which should come unto you as it is in all the world and bringing forth fruit. Colossians 1:23, if ye continue in the faith, grounded and settled, and be not moved away from the hope of the gospel, which ye have heard, and which was preached to every creature which is under heaven. Romans 15:19, through mighty signs and wonders by the power of the Spirit of God, so that from Jerusalem and round about unto Illyricum I have fully preached the gospel of Christ. Okay, so if anybody tells you that the gospel wasn't preached, you quote these to them, because the gospel was preached to the ends of the world, not the end of the dome, Bret. You know, I know you like to insert the word dome where it doesn't belong, and firmament where it shouldn't be, and you turn dens into dumbs, you know, and oh, what was the other thing you did the other day? You turned something into frogs. You took the word frogs and turned it into aliens. Good heavens. So I don't know when he did this, but he says that preacher's handout shows that he understands Revelation 16:13 with 100% and a like spy thingy and a frog and an alien and a spaceship. Okay, I'll get to this graphic here now. And then, Bret, are you saying Revelation 16:13 refers to aliens? Yes, they made these demonic hybrids in the dumbs and the warded UFO technology from the dumbs. They have been saving until they use it for all the final world wars. It's kind of it's not right, because craft real, aliens total fib. Total CI and the first letter of the alphabet. Ruse by people. Read Jack Brewer's The Graves Have Been Framed book and you'll see it. But anyway, so he says now aliens in dumbs, whatever. But let's look at this thing. Let's zoom in here. Okay, so keep your eye on the white part on the right. So we've got Jesus, the day of the Lord, at the top. And then if you just look down, you'll see the cube. That's New Jerusalem descending. Then, because it is in the shape of a cube, check the Bible for that. And then we've got, it says there, 1,000-year reign of the Lord Jesus Christ from Jerusalem. And then you go straight into eternity. If you look at the end of the trib there, you'll see 3 aliens in a spaceship. And below that it says Ezekiel and then it says Magog. Seriously. This is now before the day of the Lord, when it's actually in Revelation 20. Then look at the word eternity. You see there it's between the reign, and then that's just eternity. Bret's put this forward as accurate. It's not accurate, buddies. We have the day of the Lord, a millennial reign, when the reign, and Satan's bound. When the reign ends, Satan's loosed for a short season, and then it's Gog and Magog, encircling the cap. Only then. Anyway, so he replied, and then I replied. I said, so okay, but when? From the handout, this is before the millennial reign. This is futurist eschatology. Spot on. And then I agreed. I said, yes, aliens totally created hoax without a shred of evidence. They've been programming people for yonks to conflate all of this stuff here. This is futurism. Look at this old photograph. They've done exactly the same thing here. Let's look at it. Right. So, a dispensational diagram. This is exactly what it is. It's dispensationalism. And Bret's pushing that. Conflates everything here. The second advent, the great white throne judgment, Gog and Magog. Everything happens here. you know. No little season, no Satan bound, no millennial reign, no saying Satan's loosed. They just fling it all together in one big mess. By this trustworthy gentleman here, you know, and this one here, wait, let me zoom out. Oh, I cut him off. And this poor child. Anyway, so slides 40 to 45 say the Mount of Olives still there, not split in two. Okay? All right, people need to understand that we don't even have real maps. You know, when you've created a state based on the need for a third temple, which is dispensationalism, you must ask questions about that Disneyland state, people. It's not hard. Okay, so I did a thread the other day. Let me show you. I don't buy this place, all right? Let's just look at it. So I believe what the Bible says. So they give us these maps at the back of our Bibles. And then the Bible talks about what it needs to be. So they've estimated it sort of at 6,600 square miles, Canaan, where the 12 tribes were. Okay? So I did a whole thread. You can go and find it on Twatta if you're there. How much space we need for them to be there with their children, plus their animals. And it was done conservatively. 1 goat, 1 cow, 1 sheep. Okay, so the living space was 17.074 square kilometers, grazing land 15,000 kilometers squared, crops for food 4,000. So total land required 36.074 kilometers squared, and the available space was 17,000. So it's not possible that they could have lived here, 12 tribes. They wouldn't have been able to fit, you see. So when you now tell me that the Mount of Olives is not split in two, I just go, dude, seriously? But here's the bigger problem. For somebody to do a criticism like this, the Mount of Olives is still there, not split in two, okay, it means that to get there, they must believe that animal sacrifices need to start up again. Because it all ties together. So that's dispensationalism, folks. Now, if you believe that animal sacrifices need to start up again in a third temple, it means that either Jesus was not the Messiah, or it means his work was not finished, and a second attempt is necessary. You see? That's dispensationalism. That's how they sneak around. And then they say, the Mount of Olives is still there. Okay? Don't fall for this kind of thing. It's a total hogwashy ruse. All right, moving on. Slide 46. So the world doesn't have one language. There would be a massive 1,500-mile mark left by the New Jerusalem. No more oceans after second. Okay, this is the dispensationalists, futurists, conflating the second advent with the new or great white throne judgment. There's a reign in between, people. Second advent, then the millennial reign where Satan is bound, then at the end when the 1,000 years are over, Satan is loosed for a little season, a short while. Then Gog and Magog, then fire from heaven, okay? The camp is on the earth, fire comes from heaven, from God, and destroys everything down below. Then New Jerusalem. Okay, so this criticism is nonsense. But this is what they do. So, 2 Thessalonians 2, 1-4 says, the second coming is not soon, but only after the Antichrist. That's a lie. Not one translation of this verse has the word Antichrist in it. This now again nails preterism for saying Nero was the Antichrist, the so-called the Antichrist, and it ties it to the physical temple in Jerusalem, which nowhere is that done in the Bible. Nowhere does the Bible tie it to a physical temple. That nowhere does it say the Antichrist needs to be in a temple. That's a futurist eschatological fib. Okay, when they give you this, it's a red herring. It's total ruse. It doesn't talk about a physical temple. It talks about the temple of God, and the dispensationalists have made that a physical temple, and now they want us to go and find an Antichrist in a physical temple in 70 AD. in Jerusalem. It's not tied to Jerusalem. Read the Bible. The in Jerusalem comes from the futurist dispensationalists who are spinning you long yarns. Watch the KayPLODgee debunk. It's all in there and it's done thoroughly. So slide 49 says the New World Order feet of Daniel 2's statue were not fulfilled by AD 70. The first thing they do here is it's such a futurism thing to use modern language and insert it into the Bible. You know, where they turn dens into dumbs and frogs into aliens. It's not a good thing to do, but futurists all do that. So this prophecy was fulfilled. It's just that people don't see it because they've been programmed not to see it. So they don't go looking for it around 70 AD. You know, it's a huge problem. Why do I say it was fulfilled? Because Rome was an empire. It wasn't a country, a city in a country. It was a worldwide empire. How do we know that? Because the ruins beneath our feet are Roman. So let me show you something. We know we've got Roman ruins in Wales. We know about the UK. Obvious. Let's go up a bit. Romania. England, sure. France. Algeria. It's Africa. Tunisia. Spain. Turkey. Italy, obviously. Lebanon. So we had a Roman Empire. That's pretty obvious. Let's have a look at these. This is in Africa, in Morocco. This is in South America. Africa. It's Roman ruins. And then where's this, folks? Guess. Where do you think this is? One strata down beneath our feet. Where's this? This is Australia. The Gunnar Heinzorn video, which I tweeted out and which then got picked up by everybody, but lots of little seasonists before me saw it, they knew about it, so I came across it late myself. But anyway, it was picked up. It's gone viral. He says that one cataclysm, he proves that one cataclysmic event was turned into 3 on the books. It's all Roman substrata, which means Rome didn't fall over a period of 400 years. It's nonsense. It fell quickly. You need to snap out of the programming. Look at it with fresh eyes and try and just entertain that maybe you've been programmed to not see stuff. Possible. Think about it. That's the first thing. So that, one world government was fulfilled then. By the way, if you think you're waiting for a one world government now, you're sorely mistaken, because then you don't know about the Treaty of Verona. You don't know about Admiralty law. You don't know about Chatham House. You don't know about the Crown Corporation. You don't know about how the Vatican works, Vatican State works. Then you've missed all that research, you see. So the point of that is we're already in a one world order, folks. We don't own even what we think we own. We have no rights. We have liberties. We have no freedom. Constitutions aren't worth the paper they're written on. They gave them to us. They can take them away. It's not hard, folks. Anyway, so we're already in a one world order. So let's not wait for one. Okay, it's already here. And in any case, Rome was the one world order back in 70 AD. It was the Roman Empire. Let's move on to the next slide. So slide 58, the criticism there is the first and second resurrections in AD 70 and AD 1070 would have emptied all corpses from that time period, but we found corpses before that range. Okay, this is silly, because in 1 Corinthians 15:35 to 54, it explains that the first resurrection was a spiritual one. It's not, people were not bodily resurrected. Okay. Philippians 3:20-21, Paul says Jesus will transform our lowly body to be like his glorious body. That's the first thing. The second thing is, the second resurrection, we have a resurrection at the great white throne judgment. Okay, this is just my view. Not a scholar, and I'm not a theologian. This is my view. We've got a resurrection there where everybody, big and small, will stand before that white throne, right? I'm not of the opinion, because the Bible also doesn't specifically say so. There is a second resurrection, but we don't know if it's at the end of the millennial reign or at the end of the little season, or the Bible isn't specific about it. What we do know is there aren't 3 resurrections. There are only 2. So we have the one, 70 AD, for sure, spiritual bodies. And then there must be another one. And then I'm going with Revelation 20 and 21. Great White Throne Judgment. Okay, so this criticism is just hogwash. I don't think that the orphans were resurrected. I don't think so. I think just like survivors of the trib in 70 AD went into the millennial reign people came out of the millennial reign into the short season, literally from one day to the next. And I think people who didn't want to keep quiet about it were put in asylums. It's just my view. And I think their kids were taken away and re-educated. So I don't think those kids or anybody there, I don't think they came from graves and were bodily resurrected. I'm not there. Before we move on to the next slide, I'd like to just have a look at this. It's from Alpha Talks, who found this article. It's very interesting. Just listen to it. JT asks him to, it's with Paul and with JT. JT asks him to repeat it because, you know, you don't sort of get it the first time he reads it. But listen carefully what he says. Just going to play this for you.
So this is the Greensboro Patriot article, and it's from 1868, I believe. And there's a very interesting passage in this article, and this is what it says. It's highlighted in yellow right there. So I'm going to send it to you, so maybe you could post it up here. But it says, lunatics had their golden age before laws were made, when they wandered forth at large and were revered as saints or partaking of something holy or divine. But with laws and civilizations, their iron age began. What does that even mean?
Wait, read that again?
Read that again, yeah.
Right, so this article or newspaper is from the 1800s, the 1860s. Lunatics had their golden age before laws were made, when they wandered forth at large and were revered as saints or partaking of something holy or divine. But with laws and civilization, their iron age began. So the lunatics they're referring to in this article is the insane asylum people. I don't know why they specifically said this in the article, but yeah, it's very weird. It's at the top of the title. It says the treatment of lunatics, and it just like goes into their treatment, I guess. And then it says that this weird passage right here.
I know that article is from 1868, their date. Deduct 700 off that. It gives you 1168 for an article like that. And it's talking about people who were revered during the golden age as saints. Right. As having been in asylums. He knows exactly what he's talking about. He's a bright dude. Anyway, let's move on to slide 61. So, people should have started twinkling and not dying after the second coming in Revelation 21:4. There is no second coming in 21:4. It's the Great White Throne Judgment. Okay, there's a millennial reign between the second advent and the Great White Throne Judgment and a little season. Okay, so I'm not sure what he means. So, and God shall wipe away all tears from eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, no more pain, for the former things have passed away. That is at the new heavens and new earth. It is not the second advent. So, this crit again conflates the second coming with the Great White Throne Judgment. It's not accurate to do that. So let's move on to slide 63. This crit is another favorite of theirs. So 2 Timothy 2:18. Who concerning the truth have erred, saying that the resurrection is past already, and overthrow the faith of some. This crit is designed to be a gotcha, but it's a fib. Okay. In 2 Timothy 2:18, Paul is speaking directly to Timothy, warning him about the false teachings that were circulating in the church regarding the second advent already having happened. Paul wrote this. He was beheaded in 68-69 AD, so before 70 AD. Do you see it? The verse doesn't apply, but they use this as a gotcha to try and say you are overthrowing the faith of some. It's a lie. Let's move on. Okay, now this is a perfect example of what futurists do. People, the Bible was written for us, not to us, okay? Please don't put modern stuff into the Bible and insert yourself in there. Artificial intelligence didn't exist in 70 AD. It's the same thing he did with Revelation 16, 13, 14, and I saw 3 unclean spirit like frogs coming out of the mouth of the dragon. He turned that into aliens. And here, Bret is trying to tell me trains didn't exist yet. And planes didn't exist. I can't see the train here, or the plane here in Zechariah. Do you? And then here, do you see any telephones in the Bible? Or automobiles and killer AI drones? Because I sure as heck don't. Do you? You know, I don't see UFOs either. And then apparently Revelation 9 verse 6, and in those days men shall seek death and shall not find it. Apparently that's now DNA immortal hydras. Literally it says that there on the crypt. I don't see it. Do you? Because they didn't have DNA immortal hydras in 70 AD. What we saying couldn't have happened. No planes, automobiles, trains, UFOs, and so AI, and then immortal hydras. I mean, it's just nonsense. Now, here we've got the famous pharmakia verse, which is sorcery magic, you know, and trying to tie that to, I don't know, the convid and the stabby. Come now, people. And then the next verse, crit, I'm so confused, is that there was no pornography in 70 AD, and therefore the little season just cannot be true. And then the verse that's quoted there is Revelation 18 verse 3. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. This is about the whore of Babylon. It's not about pornography. But apparently this verse is being used to support the criticism against little seasonism. Can you see what they do? And they put it on messy memes, and they count on you not reading the memes. Slides 72 and 73 are about knowledge is still increasing before the second coming. Okay, and then he quotes 2 verses. Now, Habakkuk lived 7th century BC and Daniel 6th century BC. In Daniel, he's told to seal the prophecy, seal the book. Compare that with Revelation, where the angel says to John, seal not the sayings of the prophecy of this book, for the time is at hand. Okay, it's important that. Then I want to show you something else. Have a look here. So let's read what Revelation says. In 22:11-12, he that is unjust, let him be unjust still. And he which is filthy, let him be filthy still. And he that is righteous, let him be righteous still. And he that is holy, let him be holy still. And then Jesus speaks. And behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me, to give every man according as his work shall be. And look at 22:20. He which testifieth these things saith, and it's Jesus speaking, surely I come quickly. Amen, even so come, Lord Jesus. So we went from Daniel being told to seal up the book, and Habakkuk, which is even before Daniel, talking about knowledge will be increasing. And 700 years later, we have the angel saying, let's not seal this prophecy. And he says, let him be unjust still, he that is unjust. He which is filthy, let him be filthy still, etc. In other words, knowledge had increased. It was done so. Okay. Now, so I don't buy this crit. Certainly not. We've just gone through. There were no planes, trains, automobiles, pornography, AI, and aliens, and UFOs. I mean, it's just, do you see what they do? It's just such nonsense. Just read the Bible. Don't skip over the fact that Daniel's told to seal the prophecies and the angel tells John not to. Don't ignore that. It's there for a reason. So the next slide is about the 144,000. This I actually learned from Heiser. I learned a lot from Heiser. Revelation 14:3, KJV. And they sung, as it were, a new song before the throne and before the four beasts and the elders. And no man could learn that song but the 144,000, which were redeemed from the earth. Where are they? Can you see that they're not on earth? Okay, that's the 144,000. The two witnesses, tricky subject, nobody has a clue. So, criticism. The whole world did not hear the revelation trumps from the angels. I'm not sure if Bret is saying the angels have physical trumpets. Surely not. Next crit. The sun's still shining. It turns off at the second coming. Again, this conflates the second advent with the great white throne judgment. So let's just move on. Only futurists who do this. Again, this criticism, the moon turns red at the second coming and phases for new moons and Sabbaths. Isaiah 66, 22-24 refers to the new heavens and new earth. It's got zippo to do with the second advent. There's a whole millennial reign in between and a short season. This criticism does not apply. This criticism, the fourth beast in Daniel 7, verse 25, Roman Empire changed lunar Sabbath in AD 359 by Hillel. Okay. He's trying to say that it happened after 70 AD. Therefore, a second advent could not have been possible because of the 359 AD. Okay. This doesn't work. Let me explain why. This crit ignores these types of events. So, Julius Caesar, 46 BC, introduced the Julian calendar, moving from a lunar to a solar system. Hello, ding, ding, ding. Standardizing the year to 365 days with a leap year. So this changed how Romans marked time. Okay? And it significantly influenced later Christian and European calendars. The evidence you can find in Suetonius, the 12 Caesars, and Pliny the Elder also discusses this in natural history. Okay? Then there are more events, which this crit just ignores in slide 82. Sabbath and religious practices in Judea changed. We've got the evidence in Philo of Alexandria, the Legatio ad Gaium, and Josephus's The Jewish War. They both describe Roman disregard for Jewish laws, including Sabbath observance during conflicts. Okay, 27 BC to 14 AD, Emperor Augustus changed Roman religious practices. He literally centralized them around the emperor's cult and re-established traditional festivals. Now, Augustus detailed these reforms in his Res Gestae Divi Augusti. Good heavens, my Latin from varsity, very rusty. But why? You see, the problem is if you keep looking into the future for stuff, then you miss all the stuff that's happened in the past. Roman taxation and census laws, those changed. That's in Josephus, Antiquities of the Jews, book 18. He discusses the tensions surrounding Roman taxations. Nero persecution of Christians. They were targeted under Nero, with gatherings and worship practices being criminalized. So Roman laws increasingly clashed with Christian observances. You know, that you can find in Tacitus's Annals. And Suetonius also documents Nero's persecution of Christians and the legal changes targeting them. So times and laws changed, people. It's just that if you're not looking for them, you won't find them. See? So, the last crit, 10 kings, antichrist, world currency, all this stuff went down before 70 AD. We had all the Caesars. I mean, if you go to Bible Scribe, you'll see how he explains it. It's very good. And again, this is just coming from somebody who refuses to look at the evidence around him and is taking eschatology, which is a fib. If you research the history of it, you can see it's a fib. But taking that eschatology and shoving it down your throat and saying you're a bad Christian if you don't see it. And if you believe in the little season, which is not any of the eschatological systems, if you believe in that, then you're satanic. It's just a lie, you know. And until people believe Jesus for what he said, just every word he said, which is the point, I think, of believing in Jesus, you won't see it. But in my humble opinion, everybody's being duped. And the little seasonists have it right. Anyway, the point is, look at the memes that people post and make sure that you don't just buy what they say. On the note of not believing everything and everyone you see, I see this fella has not really read the room, and he's now put out Kay on his thingy-majiggy, on his whatever, Twatta account. I see people are all over him. I can't, of course, reply, because I'm blocked. Because I told him his nonsense about Sitchin and the Anunnaki and saying it had been debated. No, John, it was debunked. Anyway, another story. But I see that he and JT had a little run-in, right? Already watched and debunked. Read my post. Yes, we will, I think. Got to be very sharp with John. Very sharp with John. You can't play around with John, JT. He's slick. Listen, and what I can tell you is that for sure, let's go and have a look at his timeline. They are all over the little seasonists. Let's look at these memes. Hold on. Here they come. Oh, I don't like this guy. Sorry. No likey. He's also going to come out as a shilly bollocks. Anyway. Ooh, my lunch break's also shilly bollocks because he's going to aliens and previous advanced civilizations. Ooh, I did a thread on my lunch break. Anyway. He sells wellness company stuff. Hello, morning, ding, ding, ding. And he's with Cliffy High. And he's with Stupidizzy. Hello, wake up. So, okay, but wait, where are the memes? I saw them. Oh, there we go. Welcome to the millennium. No more sin. He's conflating preterism with little seasonism, and they're gunning the little seasonists. Guys, when you see this kind of thing, you need to wake up. They, in inverted commas, cannot afford for this to come out. Look at these memes. They've been worked on. Where do they suddenly come from? Who did this? I got a team working on these. I'm telling you now. I'm telling you now. They're gunning for us. Okay, so I think the next video will be about that. So if you're still here after this hour, thank you very much for watching, and I need to get this one posted so I can start working on the next one. And we'll look at 007, TNTJohn 1717. Until then, cheers.
Mwah.